All right.
Hello, everybody. Hey, everybody. This is Brian Ankney with AutoSuccess Magazine. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar today. You can see we've got the cameras on today. With us today, our special guest is Latif from the Best Direct Group. Latif actually brings some really neat topic to us today. Not only is Latif the owner of the Best Direct Group, which is a staffed event company, marketing company, direct mail company. He also has some real life dealership experience. He owns dealerships, and so a lot of the things that he brings to other dealers are things that he's actually made successful in his own stores. So this is not theory. This is actually things that work in his stores and work for the stores he works with. Now, before we get started today, there's a few things I'd like to mention to everybody. If you're on a PC, you have a pane that goes down the right side of your screen, and it's the AutoSuccess, or it's the webinars. It's the GoToWebinar pane. Near the bottom of that, you'll see questions. As we go through this webinar, please type your questions in right there. I'm going to hold the questions until the end. We'll get to all the questions, but just so that we have some good questions, please type them in as you think of them, and it'll help me to give Latif the context of what the question might mean in case it's not 100% clear. Now, if you're on a smartphone, there's several different ways the questions could work for you. If you're on an Android or an Apple, it's different. Different Android manufacturers work different. So you're either going to have a header and a footer, or you're going to have a picture frame around your screen. And on that picture frame, you'll see a question mark. You click the question mark. It'll open up a pane. You type in your question. And then depending on your device, it can work a little differently. You might have to, some will let you swipe to get rid of the question pane to go back to the webinar. Others are going to require you to look for another icon that's somewhere in the header or the footer or the picture frame that looks like a desktop monitor. You'll click that, it'll take you back into the webinar. Now, just in case you get kicked out of the webinar or you hit the wrong button, which I've had many people have done that on the smartphones, just use the same link that you used to join us. It'll work again. Use the same phone number to dial in if you're dialed in. All the same links and all the same numbers will work, same codes. Now, with that being said, I've got one more announcement. If you have not joined AutoSuccess webinars on Facebook yet, please do. You go to Facebook, type in AutoSuccess webinars into the search, and it'll bring up AutoSuccess webinars. Now, why is AutoSuccess webinars important? Well, for several reasons. One, you'll never miss another webinar because I post them all there. Two, it's a great place to interact with the AutoSuccess team as well as my speakers like Latif. You can interact with us there. You can suggest new topics, suggest new guests. Also, the most important function of AutoSuccess webinars is for you guys to interact with each other. You know, today we're going to talk about some things that you probably have heard of, but you probably aren't doing, or maybe you are doing and you want to do them better. But as you take these steps to improve your dealership, you're going to have successes and failures. And that's the function of AutoSuccess webinars. I invite you to share those with each other and help each other along the way to improving your dealerships and doing more business. I thank you all for coming today. And with that, I'd like to introduce Latif. Latif, please tell us a little bit about your background in the auto space.
Hi, everyone. Latif Kadri coming to you live from beautiful sunny Orlando, Florida. I went to school and had a financial markets background, and I missed some internship opportunities and wound up in the car business by accident because my dad ran a multi-point store in the Chicagoland area. And so, I came up through the ranks like a lot of good guys in the business did, started washing cars, running for coffee, for the guys, and working my way up, started selling, hit the car manager, went to the NADA Academy, did that whole deal, finally had an opportunity to move up, run a couple stores, and, did that for about 20 plus years. And so, I had a young family at about that time, and we were coming out of the recession. And I had made some moves that worked out well and got out of a couple deals that I was involved in, and timing being everything, we did all right. And I figured, what could I do to help people out there, and using economies of scale to compete with some of your big players in the market. And when I came to that decision, I had a good friend of mine that bought 3 stores in the Northeast that were just terribly underperforming. And he asked me to come up and help him with the branding and kick it off, and went up there and did that. And next thing you know, I started an agency out of my 4th bedroom, and he was rocking and rolling and teed me up to his 20 group, and the rest is history. And we positioned ourselves as a strategic marketing agency. There's a lot of guys out there that are really sharp in the marketing world that came into the dealership when I was running multi-point stores and when I had my deals. And they had all kinds of great ideas, and they had all kinds of stuff that worked at big retail box store locations, and they had some other experience and track records, maybe with some of the public, some of the public stores, but it just didn't have that oomph. And rather than spend all that big money and experiment with some of my clients, I started kind of creating my own deal and position ourselves to be a strategic marketing agency, where we really would go out and find in-market opportunities. So we started leveraging big data, taking a look at predictive analytics, some of the stuff that your Fortune 100 companies are already using to identify in-market buyers on a very large scale, and we just kind of dialed it down and had some success with it. And one of our really good clients in in the Midwest approached me and said, "Hey, listen, we're using a staffed event company. Would you take a crack at it? I need some help. I trust you. I know the mail will get out, this, that, or the other." And I said, "Listen," I said, "that's fine. Out of friendship, I'll do it for you." So we kicked it off, and it was pretty good. And then we went back and did another one. And I decided to start using some of the technology that we had been using on the strategic side and incorporating it into the staffed event side. And as a result, traffic count was astronomical. We were able to go after people that were kind of in market, kind of put our toe in the water and really kind of drive some incremental traffic that maybe was interested, but not, more of a passive buyer. So it brought us some qualified buyers based on demography that we had created, and just knocked it out of the park. So we started incorporating that and then kind of adding on incrementally some new tech as it became available to us. And we've had a lot of good success. And the first quarter of 2017, we really dove in. We took a step back and really paid attention on how to maximize dollar to get the best return while leveraging tech. Which let's face it. I mean, even though direct mail and is doing great, especially nowadays, direct mail. The Direct Marketing Association, now the Data Marketing Association, they are talking about 3 and 4% responses from direct mail because people like that personal touch, because we're also inundated with emails. I have to maintain two. I have my business email, for relevant stuff on a day-to-day basis, and then of course I've got my personal email that gets 5,000 emails from Pottery Barn, Restoration Hardware, the grocery store, anybody, Home Depot. So people have become so inundated, receiving multiple emails a day, that when they get that tangible, it resonates. So what we do is then we dovetail off of that and really kick it into high gear. And I'll go into more detail on that. But that's kind of the Cliff Notes version of where I was and how I wound up here.
Okay. Right now, what I'm showing our viewers, Latif, is your graphic about a dealership in San Francisco. Maybe if you could share with us a little bit about how, a few topics I'd like you to touch on how this sale worked out. Let's talk about big data. Let's also talk about, I know you guys have a saying that the little things that make the big difference. So let's touch on that. And then let's talk about, everybody talks about ringless voicemail. Let's talk about how to use it the right way and
Sure.
how to use it the most effective way. And then any other things that you think you might throw, anything that really made a difference for this store, and including your geo-targeted electronic messaging.
Sure.
I know that's a whole bunch. But yeah, if you could maybe touch on some of those topics and tell us how that worked at the San Francisco dealership.
Absolutely. This store here was an acquisition made by a large dealer group. They've got 30-something stores. They're a top 150 on Auto News, right? This was kind of the stepchild store. They kind of had to trade some franchises. So they wound up with this deal here, and it was very much an underperforming Hyundai store. Anybody that knows about Hyundai on the West Coast, unfortunately, it never got the foothold, right? So we went into the store. They were bleeding pretty good. We did a market analysis. There were stores all up and down the strip. It's kind of on a gasoline alley type deal. So there's some car dealerships there that were performing quite well. So we went into this environment and we took a look at the demographics. Obviously, you're West Coast, right? And it's Bay Area. So you've got a very mixed demography, psychography, ethnic split. You've got people at the very, very high end of the income spectrum and also, at the very bottom of it. So we took a look at the, just kind of the radius of the dealership at a run to see what we were looking at. We identified our target. So of course, being a staffed event, the first step that we take in an environment like this is once we identify where we want to be, we target the areas and we go out and we're going to do our standard saturation mail, with variable data and really kind of personalize the piece. It's got, really kind of a sexy piece. You got to catch these people's attention, because the devil's in the details, and you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. So we try to catch them right out of the gates of the mailbox. The mail piece obviously needs to have a compelling message that can relate to the audience. It has to have a sense of urgency that drives them and has hope for gain. Whatever the hooks that you decide to put in, we run all our stuff through regulatory. So being, California, we had to kind of water it down a little bit. But, it was as aggressive as we could get targeting the market we were targeting. And, we had a very strong telephone response. Now, one of the things that we recommend, that we've had a lot of success with, even in my stores, is having a live inbound call center to take the calls. Because, typically when we're doing these deals, especially in this case, we were doing 70,000 pieces of mail right out of the gates. So when we were doing that kind of volume of mail, the call volume was upwards of 2,000 and 3,000 telephone calls. So rather than just have it go to, hey, congratulations, come into the dealership for this, this, and this, whatever messaging the dealer wanted to put together, we had live inbound call operators that were Traver Tech trained. So if anybody knows Traver Technologies, they're the granddaddy of the BDC. All of your most successful dealerships at one time or another have operated using Traver Tech. So, and that's what we did. I spent some time in some of the big dealer groups that everybody sees on TV, and we had Traver trained people. So when these people would call in on the hooks, our people were trained. They would take the inbound call. They would create the appointment. They would emphasize that sense of urgency, and of course, it would drive traffic in. Now, once we had that information, where the people lived that responded to our offer, we had telephone calls, we would go back at these people with the ringless voicemail message. Okay, once again, just to reinforce. And because it is, sorry about that, guys. And because it was very much, sorry. And what we would do is we would send them that ringless voicemail. So of course, we're not being a pain, we're not burdening them, we're not harassing them. So we're compliant with TCPA. Obviously, they reached out to us. We're responding to them. But, the message would once again reinforce that sense of urgency, and it would obviously create additional incremental traffic that we normally wouldn't see because somebody would call, set an appointment, not show up. We still shot for a 50% appointment show ratio. So we always shot for a very high 50, 60% appointment set ratio from our BDC, and then we would always shoot for a 50% show rate. And we did that because our boots on the ground would, once again, after the ringless voicemail. So the appointment was set, the ringless voicemail would go out, and then once again, the day before the appointment and the day of the appointment, our boots on the ground would reconfirm that appointment. So we would have real traffic. It would give us an opportunity to already lay some rapport down and find out some stuff that we needed to find out. And we saw massive improvement, as in this situation here from 2014 to 2015. We doubled their overall volume, a majority of it being used cars, once again, looking at that demo. But that was a very, very big part of it because it was that personal touch, what they called it. And the thing is, it's scalable. We were able to, the BDC is scalable. We're able to accommodate, 2,000 calls and 200 calls. So it really worked out well. So that was one part of it. So after we would do the ringless voicemail, and then of course as the mail would, we would taper the mail out. So if it was a 9-day event or a 7-day event, whatever it was, and we were doing 70,000 pieces of mail, we would stagger it. So we would try to even it out along the way. But of course, sometimes the post office would be slow, sometimes the post office would be fast, and it would all get dumped too soon or too late. So in order for us to hedge our bets, we started doing geofencing as well. So I know a lot of dealerships out there are doing some geo-targeting, they're doing some beaconing, and they're doing some geofencing, but we have found geofencing to be the best, and I'll tell you why. We're not relying heavily on the IP address of everybody that has a smartphone out there. So what we would do is we would identify the direct competition, or what we would perceive to be the direct competition of the dealership we were at. So we're at a Hyundai store, down the street was a Kia store, so we geofenced them. There was a Nissan store, we geofenced them. There was a Volkswagen store, we geofenced them, okay? So direct competition. And then, of course, high traffic areas. If there was a Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, we would geo-target, we would geofence those areas. So anybody with a smartphone with their location address with permission granted on, when they would go, they would receive a push notification that would let them, and we would always customize it. So if somebody was walking into a Walmart store, it would pop up, hey, for a free, for the opportunity to receive a free $100, up to $100 Walmart gift card, click to accept message. They would automatically opt in. We would be able then at that point to send them an MMS or another push, whatever it was, with a message reflecting, hey, big sale down the road, XYZ, come on in for your chance to win up to a $100 Walmart gift card. And the nice thing about something like that is once we geofence and we go after that area, when they come back to the store, because we'd also have that geofence, we would be able to have a true conversion number on that as well. So that would also create people that weren't, on our mailing list. And those people would come in, and then at that point, we would just have an extra opportunity to do business, and the guys that were with us were properly trained in how to convert somebody from someone walking in looking for a gift and get them caught in the swirl and convert them to a buyer. So those, leveraging on the staffed event side of the deal, leveraging the ringless voicemail, the BDC, and then of course, the geofencing really made a huge impact on traffic count on a daily basis, especially if it was, listen, we've all been in the car business, right? It's too hot, it's too cold, it's too rainy, there's a big sale at Walmart, there's this going on, there's that going on. It helped us to hedge that, and so if the post office mucked up the delivery process, which, we did everything we could to hedge that, but this would really continue to drive traffic on a daily basis, and we would get some massive impressions.
Nice. Well, the statistics that we're looking at here definitely show that. I mean, you guys doubled the units, but more impressively, almost a little over 4 times the rev, or right about 4 times the rev, or more than 4, about 5 times the revenue. So yeah, you guys really hit a home run for that dealership. Let's move on to another case study here. Let's go down to, or actually, would you like to speak to the campaign dashboard and what that did for you at that store?
Are you still referring to the Hyundai store?
Yeah.
Let me just kind of once again stay on that topic, because here's the thing. With the Auto Traders, the Cars.com, and all the other the car gurus, all the other opportunities that we can all hop on our smartphone and look at and get an idea of what to buy. The thing is I've always found this, especially when I was running big Nissan stores. And let me just back up real quick. So, back in the day when I got in the car business, if you wanted a big weekend, you would maybe host a radio remote. You would, put a double truck ad in the newspaper. You'd have, your liners in the used car section of the paper, and and then of course you'd, advertise if you went on, terrestrial, regular television, network television back in the day, and you'd advertise, the $12,995 Silverado. Well, guess what? When the guy comes in, he's looking for that $12,995 Silverado. If the guy's on, reading the liners, he's looking for that cheap used car. If the guy's in the double truck, he's looking for that cheap new car. The beauty of what we do in this world here, because the dynamic is, 50% the event itself and the hoopla and the circus, and 50% of it is the dynamic of, hey, we have great car deals. We're catching people in a passive scenario, okay? These people aren't, it's almost like we're sucker punching them, okay? I know a lot of great boxers, right? But if you walk up to them on the street and they're not paying attention, you have a good shot of knocking them out, because they're not in the ring. They're not at attention. When you get that one guy that's shopping car against car, you're going to run into that problem, because you got that guy who hits Auto Trader, and the guy who sees the spotlights and cheapest deal first may buy it, may not, whatever. And then, when they come to the lot, and that was the big reason why this store had a very soft used car gross average, and we were able to convert it and really knock it out of the park 4 or 5 times what they were doing, was because we were grabbing that passive buyer that wasn't actively in the marketplace, and we were able to get them, we were able to take that product and build the value. It was never really so much a price proposition. We were able to start with a value proposition, build value, earn the right to ask for the money, and then once we did it, we were able to get it because it was excitement. And so that's how we were able to really maximize those dollars. And once again, some people may sit back and say, oh, well, you made way too much money on him, you did this too much on him, you made that much on him. Let me tell you, the old adage still applies. The guy that comes in and beats your brains in, they're the ones that kill you on the CSI to give you a hard time in service, and they badmouth you. The ones that you still make the big grosses on are the ones that are bringing you cookies on Saturday morning and sending the other grandmother to buy a car. And we saw that, especially in that market there, as electronically savvy as those people are on the West Coast, especially in that Bay Area market. And it was a great experience, and the dealer obviously was very, very happy, and it continued to nurture our relationship.
Nice. Yeah, I'm going to move on to a case study. This is a dealership in St. Louis. It's a Fiat dealership.
Yep.
The stats here again. I mean, it shows that you guys made good money on a lot of car deals. And I think you definitely have a point. That higher funnel buyer, he hasn't looked at everybody else's ad. That's good information. You want to maybe tell us a little bit about what made this store unique and how you guys were able to achieve this?
Absolutely. This is a Sleepy Hollow case. The dealer was avoided the franchise because he was a multi-point FCA dealer, so they gave him the franchise, and they moved it into an existing facility they had when they had lost another franchise a few years ago, and so it was really just kind of there, and
Yeah.
went into the deal and turned it on once again. A very aggressive direct mail piece. Sent in a team that was an expert based on the demographic of the marketplace. We sent in a team that had a very high level of expertise and understanding and relationship level with subprime lending, because that was just the ideal area. So we developed a piece that reflected the deficiency in the market, of what was being offered by the competitors. And so we drove a huge traffic count in that environment there. And once again, we were able to convert these people and make massive gross profit. Once again, leveraging our advertising expertise, the expertise of being able to hang subprime paper and do good, clean business. This particular group, once again, 17 plus stores in the market for 70 plus years, great reputation. Went in there, exercised some geo-targeting, live call center, just great blocking and tackling on the ground by the team, working the telephones, taking the calls, setting the appointments. And once again, I mean, we can do everything we do, but we also had great support from the dealer staff here. We obviously, when I talk about, boots on the ground, their dealership staff is also included as well. The one thing that I always hated when I did a staffed event and had a staffed event company come into my world is they always alienated my guys. And so we've made it kind of our culture to make the culture uniform. This truly is a team event. So, so with their boots on the ground and our guys on the ground, we were able to take a store that would typically only do 30 cars a month, and in a matter of, 8 days, 9 days, triple what they would do in a given month, obviously not the gross, but on the volume perspective, and knock it out of the park. So, it's a lot of everything we do, but then of course, the team dynamic working together. I mean, I hate to be cheesy, but, the teamwork makes the dream work,
Yep. Well, and I mean, looking at the new car numbers there, you did 8 new cars and had $21,000 gross. I mean, that you got every dollar that's available in a Fiat deal. I mean, that's still a good number.
All jokes aside, I want to say that after, because they always have residual business, because, when we do the geofencing, typically I'll set it up for, 2 weeks to a month. And in this situation, we left it up for a month. And so they continue to sell new cars. And I want to say that they were #1 in their region and like top 3 in the country that month with Fiat.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, here I'm gonna go ahead and move on to another one here. This is an East Coast Mitsubishi dealership, and it looks like you had on this one you had good new and used numbers, whole bunch of units, whole bunch of gross. What made this sale so successful?
This is a market that has been hit very, very heavy by a lot of staffed event companies. So on this one here, we knew we were looking at having a serious challenge. So we developed a piece specifically for this particular type of demo. So we really create a piece that speaks to the customer. I am not a fan of just using one uniform piece across the country. Just because something worked in New York doesn't necessarily mean it'll work in Chicago and vice versa. So, and some people think I'm crazy, because we spend a lot of time and effort on the creative side of it. So we put together a very strong creative piece for this particular market area that had been hit very, very hard. So, we put something together and had messaging that would set us apart from everybody else. We got dealer buy-in and put together a very strong door prize, which, we co-opt with the guy because we knew it would have a very strong response. So we had a very high perceived value door prize, a very strong mail piece that spoke to the consumer, because, you figure if you're going into a market that has done tons and tons of staffed events, that they've probably seen every crazy hook and every lie that anybody has ever been able to come up with in the car business. So we did something a little different. We approached a little more sincerity, made it a legitimate door prize. We had great traffic counts. Once again, the BDC really, really drove traffic to the dealership because, the first couple of days we expect to see a very strong door response. In this situation, we had a very strong phone response, which we were able to convert. Once again, the team at the store level gave us great support, boots on the ground, making phone calls, taking inbound calls, and drove the number. And because of the market that we're in, a lot of the low-hanging fruit had already probably been taken by most of the competition that had been there before us in that area. So once again, leverage our expertise in subprime, and we were able to put together some pretty solid business. And everybody knows that a Mitsubishi. No, I shouldn't say everybody knows, but Mitsubishis historically have always been laughed about that. Hey, it's a new car shingle to sell used cars and have banks and floor plan. But in this situation here, the dealer he's a good Mitsubishi dealer. I want to say he's probably a top 15 dealer in the country. And so, of course, we sold some new cars and made some decent new car gross. And, it was, he was very, very happy with that because, his apprehension is that, we were going to either A, throw out the new car customers or B, convert them all to used cars. And I'm sure we probably converted a few, but, we honored his wishes and we sold some new cars for him as well and made sure to maximize, the gross and get what we can. Because if much like Fiat, if, the gross, you're not ringing the bell unless you're selling a mullet sticker, especially that 14.9 little, that little car they sell that's only got about $100 of the markup. But no, just, a great environment, blocking and tackling, telephone calls, ringless voicemail, inbound BDC. That's the thing, it's consistency. We may change the creative to suit the market, but you don't change the process, the consistency in what you do, how you greet the customer, what is the 1, 2, and 3 of doing the deal, and that's where a lot of guys try to reinvent the wheel and we have, a lack of success. But if the recipe works and you're baking a red velvet cake, then that's how you do it. Otherwise it doesn't turn out right. So we will go into any market, practice the consistency, obviously adhere to the culture of the dealer we're working with, but, the blocking and tackling doesn't change, because here's the thing, advertising drives traffic. You can drive the traffic, but it's the process and the people that make it happen.
Okay. Actually, I've got some questions that have come in from our audience, Latif. The first question is, have you ever tried to do geo-target or geofencing around sporting events and any other neat ideas that you've used?
Well, we have not had, now on the staffed event side, no. On my dealership side, we have a store that's not too far outside of Daytona. So we had, when the 500 went on not too long ago, we fenced that area and we got about 165,000 impressions off of our geofence. And we're still seeing people calling in, coming back, hitting our Facebook page. We put together a dynamic offer for them to reach out to us, and a lot of people have. We were giving people smartwatches for coming out and checking things out. So we kind of did some tie-ins. But once again, in that market, when you hit a sporting event, not everybody that's attending it, unless it's a smaller, maybe a high school or maybe a local university. But when you're hitting a Daytona 500, it's obviously you have a lot of out-of-towners and people like that. So maybe a lot of our messaging was wasted, but the people that are in our backyard that would go there to party or be in the restaurant areas and stuff like that, we had great response.
Good. Actually, our next question asked if you would elaborate on the gift. I think it was not this dealership, but the dealership before. You had talked about how the market had been really saturated with events, with staffed events, and that you had a kind of a unique gift offering. Would you mind sharing what that is?
Once again, it's whatever you give away has to have a high perceived value. So I know that for a long, long time, everybody was giving away lottery tickets, or if you guys remember, back in the 90s, the little pop-up grills and the umbrella and stuff like that, the tchotchke giveaways, so what we started doing is kind of thinking outside of the box. If our threshold for paying is somewhere in that $5 to $6 per opportunity to drive them into the dealership, really if we were to push the envelope to increase that traffic count, know that we were on our game and would maintain a solid closing percentage, what could we really tolerate? So we found that $7.50, $8 mark was a real deal. So we started thinking outside of the box. What has a very high perceived value in today's market, knowing that everybody is a techie, not everybody's a techie, but everybody's moving towards tech. Everybody's got one of these bad boys, right? Everybody's got a smartphone. So what could we do? So we started thinking, what if we gave away tablets? So we looked at tablets, and the least expensive we can find those were $20, $25 coming out of China. So we narrowed it down. So we found smartwatches. I'm gonna grab one. Hang on one second. So My family is in the import-export business, and up in Chicagoland area. So we were able to secure a very, very large quantity of smartwatches. Okay, Bluetooth, music, take pictures, do all that fun stuff. Very, very high perceived value. And the beauty of it is that every few weeks at that time, everybody was talking about the new smartwatch coming out. Everybody was talking about how Fitbit was trying to step up their game. Of course, the Samsung version of the watch, a new one came out, and then everybody's throwing their hat in the game. So outside of the car business, if you're walking through a grocery store, what do people wear on their wrist? I would venture to guess that 9 out of 10 of them are wearing some sort of, athletic monitor or smartwatch or one version of it, right? Maybe not 9 out of 10, but let's say 50% of them, okay? So we put our toe in the water and we tried it, and I am telling you, like, people were breaking the doors down. We couldn't get enough of them. It was like every day we were giving away 150, 200 of them. And so, yes, that sweet spot was $7.5, $8 cost, high perceived value, in a market where everybody had gotten a lottery ticket, an umbrella, a grill set, or some other nonsense. A $5 Walmart gift card. Everybody's told that the Walmart gift card's up to $1,000, but every one of them's a $5 Walmart gift card. So of course people are upset. And there was no upset. Hey, show up with your invitation. We're going to give you a smartwatch. People lined up and came in. First of all, and the beauty of it is, here's the thing, right? The advertising, driving traffic, and salespeople selling cars. Okay, on the mail piece, if it says win up to a $1,000 Walmart gift card, when the people come in and they get it, and and the salesperson would say, well, you know what, it could be up to $1,000. You can scratch it off and call in. 99% of them are going to be the $5 card, and a lot of them will call in. And when they do, when they find out it's $5, either one of two things: they're going to laugh, and you've lost all your credibility, or they're going to get upset. And then we've also had situations where a customer misunderstood, would go to Walmart, load up the cart, and then they got a gift card that's worth $5. So of course they got egg on their face. So what do you think they do? They take the social and they badmouth the store. You lose all credibility with them. You're never going to get them back in the dealership, and they're going to, it's that rule of referral. They're going to tell everybody they know that they're pissed off at you.
Yeah.
But with this thing here, people came in, they got it, they were so turned. And we earned their trust right out of the gates, because there was no question. You don't have to jump through hoops to get it. I don't need to appraise your car, demo this, hop in the trunk. It was, come on in, let's get you registered. Here's your watch. Thank you for coming in. And then we would work on taking the time to earn their business. And it worked. So that's kind of the long story longer.
Yeah. Well, I actually have kind of a follow-up question. When you were doing the geo-targeting, were you giving away watches to people that did not have invitations? And did you have anybody who referred a friend to come in and get a watch?
Well, here's the deal. When we have done geo-targeting and geofencing, the dealers that we have worked with have always, let me qualify that. So here's the thing. When we were going after, like, for instance, people going into a Walmart, we would do a legitimate Walmart gift card. Here's $10 to come in and take a test drive. And the people would come in under the impression already, setting the tone that they would have to come in and take a test drive. And so we had a very high level of success with that, because we were offering them a gift card to a store they already had intent on attending. So it continued to reinforce that kind of that psychological relationship that, hey, I'm already going to Walmart. You know what? Let me just swing by there real quick, check out what they have, get that gift card, and come back. And so we found that to be very effective, because we've tried the smartwatch deal. We've tried the smartwatch deal, and we've kind of had kind of mixed deals. But on the mail piece, when it's on there and it's a big, beautiful picture of it, they come in. But we have found the gift card to the store that they're going to, that we've geofenced, that's the one that we've had great success with.
Okay. All right.
And you know what?
Well,
there's actually one of the Brian, there's actually one other thing I forgot to touch base on that we've recently started incorporating, and I just tested it at my store. So we have partnered with a company that has provided us with the ability to do a reverse IP. Okay, so when the people respond from the mail piece, we know who they are, where they're at. Obviously, we've mailed to them, so we know what their address is. But once they've responded to us, obviously we know that they've taken a shine to some of the hooks that we've put in there. Whatever it is. And then, of course, whatever the BDC notes are will give us kind of a good trend as to what we're looking for. So what we're able to do is do a reverse IP search. So I can take all the addresses, find out where they live, and then that way we're also able to send them a email offer reinforcing what's on the mail piece for them to come to the dealership. So we've also had some success with that. As a matter of fact, we started it last week at one of my stores, and we're continuing it this week. And we did it. We did 17,500 emails. We've had an additional 130 ups come through the door, and we've given away a ton of watches. But it's really been a good test market, because a lot of the stuff that I bring to the table, I do in my own backyard, and I use my money. I'm not testing the dealer's money. I'm doing it myself, so that when I sit here and I sit in front of a prospect, or I sit in front of one of my existing clients, and I'm trying to re-sign them or whatever, I can say with confidence, speak with confidence, hey, I've tried this in my backyard. This works. And then if you bring something, and if he brings kind of an idea, and I say, look, I've tried it. It did not work for me, but I am not the smartest man in the room. We can give it a shot and see how it goes. But what I recommend, I've done myself, and I've had all the skin in the game.
Nice. Well, looks like that's our last question. If anybody else has any more questions, please enter them now. I'd like to remind everybody again to join AutoSuccess webinars on Facebook if you haven't yet. Tell me what you want to see. I mean, this is kind of a blank canvas, and we want to serve you and give you information that'll help you do your job better. So please let me know what you'd like to see, who you'd like to see. Latif, is there anything that you'd like to leave our listeners with before we let them go today?
If I can do a quick plug about a market analysis, I think we kind of touched base on that, you and I.
Sure. Yeah.
As a strategic marketing agency, leveraging high-level data that's not necessarily available to dealers at our level. I mean, I don't even think a lot of the T2 marketing groups, Tier 2 marketing groups, have access to some of the stuff that we're able to bring to the table. But if you would like to have a market analysis done to talk about in-market buyers, who you're wasting money on, just a quick note, I had a Toyota 4Runner back in 2012, and I took it to multiple Toyota dealerships, just to kind of see what the stores were like and see if I can get in front of the GM and talk to them about my products and services. And so, of course, 5 cars later, I'm still getting phone calls from their BDC. I'm still getting direct mail offers from the sales department and the service department. And they're wasting money, wasting time, wasting manpower, and woman power. But if somebody's interested in a market analysis to identify, opportunities to reduce expense and increase your market pen, shoot me an email, or I'll reach out to you, and I think you can be real excited to see what we can bring to the table for you, and it costs you $0.
Actually, Latif, would you share your email address? That way they have it.
Absolutely, it is Latif, Latif, at bestdirectgroup.com. And actually, Brian, one key point that we didn't talk about is our deal is no risk, no money up front as well. So if we do something, and I hope I didn't overstep our deal, but as far as what I'm supposed to say or not, but one of the reasons why we have done as well as we have is we don't insist that dealers pay up front, because I understand there's kind of a negative reputation that comes to the staffed event world, but I will absorb all the risk up front, and we can work out the terms after the fact. But that's kind of it in a nutshell, and thank you all for listening to me ramble on for the last 37 minutes.
Oh yeah, you know what? That's no problem with you. That is something, and I'll share this with our audience as well. In all of my dealings with staffed event companies through AutoSuccess, I've never ever dealt with one that doesn't ask the dealer to pay for the mail up front. You're the only one that I've ever been exposed to that takes that financial risk. And really, I mean, to say it bluntly, you put your money where your mouth is. So everyone that's on the call, or that's on the webinar right now, I did record this webinar. So if there's someone in your dealership you feel would benefit from seeing this, or if you'd like to see it again, or share it with someone, you'll get an email from me thanking you for attending, and just reply to that, and I'll send you the recording. This will also be an AutoSuccess webinars on Facebook, and it'll be on our YouTube channel. Thank you all for coming today. Latif, I really appreciate it. Today's guest, Latif Quadri, did a great job. Thanks, Latif.
Thank you so much.
See you all later.
Take care. Thanks a lot, guys.